What is up, YouTube, and welcome back to another Fridge Financials video. And in today's video, we're talking something that has nothing to do with stocks, selling covered calls, buying options. We're talking about the bond market, what it is, how it works, what to look for, and anything else that comes with it. So if you're excited for today's video, make sure that you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell notifications for all future uploads. This was another recommendation from someone in the After Hours community. Again, my opportunities here are to give back and to educate and bring knowledge whenever I possibly can. So this was something that said, hey, Fridge Financials, what about the bond market? We always talk about the stock market and Tesla and Nvidia and SPY. What about bonds, though? What does the bond market mean? What are we looking at here? How does it work? And everything else in between. So you might have heard bonds and what they are, and they always say to have some bonds in your portfolio. Honestly, I didn't even know this. The bond market is bigger than the stock market, which probably is something that makes more sense when we talk about it more and more. But we're going to kind of break it down here. And again, these are websites to help bring visuals because I am not an artistic person, but my job is to commentate, give you my perspective, things to look for, and to hopefully explain how bonds work. Okay. So basically what a bond is that it is a loan that you will be basically funding for somebody else. Okay. So you're lending money to somebody, whether it's a government, whether it's a corporation, whether it's a municipal, which is like your state and local level governments and those kind of things. And basically what it is they'll say, hey, we need some money to do this. Help us out. We'll pay you back plus interest. It's kind of just like how banks give you those high yield savings accounts and they say, hey, you put money with us, we'll pay you back plus interest. But in this case, it basically is a big IOU from the government. Okay. So bonds are like stocks in one way. You can buy them at any time. So there's the bond market, just like the stock market here. But you must keep bonds until they reach what's called a term, at which point you're paid back the amount of loan or bond plus interest. You might have heard of it as a bond maturing, which basically means you're going to be getting that maximum return, but it's basically is you hitting your mature period where you are able to then get paid back the amount plus the interest. So it's an IOU from the government, from the company, from somebody. You're basically paying it, and then they give you money back plus interest. Okay. So these are some things to think about when you're looking at bonds is you have the face value, the issue date, the bond maturity date. Again, when a bond matures, it could be a few days. It could be 30 years. We'll take a look at different bond rates and what they're showing in the economy and those kind of things. We have a coupon rate, which is the annual interest rate paid out on a bond, can be fixed or floating, and what you earn from your bond. So the face value plus interest. The bond return is guaranteed unless there's a rare case of bankruptcy or default. So just like how stocks work, you have a chance of a company going bankrupt, then you lose all your money. Same thing with a bond. If they default, they don't pay their loan back, then that's a big problem. Now, a lot of people like to do bonds that are based off of the government because most of the time, if not all the time, the government will never default. They have ways to pay it back. They can obviously just come up with more money, essentially, which is not a best situation. But government bonds, treasury bills, those kind of things are important bonds that people like to invest in a lot of because those have a lot of success and not a high chance of a default or bankruptcy. If that happened at the federal level, we're going to have some questions. So again, here's an example. City wants to sell it. So say city wants to build a new school. They sell a 10-year bond to raise money. So again, you pay for one of these bonds here. That money goes in towards buying the school. And now they have an IOU from you plus interest that you will get after 10 years. You can buy an individual bond, but you can buy it on a website. I think it's like a treasury bills or treasury bonds website. You can just go out and buy directly. That's called the primary market. There is also a secondary market where you can exchange them through a brokerage account. There's a lot of stocks that have like ETFs that are based on the bond market where they buy a bunch of bonds, they make an ETF off of it. So those are another things to look at as well. So you can definitely do it through brokerage accounts and everything else, just like you do with stocks. It's very, very similar. Now here's that's very, very interesting to think about is that there are risky bonds. Okay. Just like stocks are risky, there are risky bonds. And if you watched my previous video on dividends, it also can be risky depending on what the yield is. Higher yields usually mean that there's more risk because otherwise everybody would be doing it. Why would you buy a low interest rate when you can buy a higher one if it was the same probability of having it not default or wherever else it is, right? So they do offer higher yield bonds. Again, lower credit rating means you have higher interest rates, which is higher risk, and just like how everything else works with interest rates and everything else. Again, the lower ones, they have less risk, the ones from federal government compared to ones that are by a company that's trying to raise capital to not go bankrupt. So there is high risk and low risk based off of the yield percentages. So just like anything else, high yields like dividend investing, the higher yields usually have more risk that are associated with it, as you will know. And that's it basically for the basis of that one. Now we're going to talk into some more things about bonds. This is what's really interesting. And again, it took me a little bit of time to read into this and how it works, because this is how the bond market works. And it's very interesting because right now we're in this point of uncertainty in the markets where Jerome Powell's talking about rate cuts and where the rates are going to be and interest rates and so on and so on. Interest rates is all over the place with talking and inflation and everything else. Okay. Bonds invert interest rates, which I didn't know about that at first. I had to do a little bit of research to this, right? But this is the idea as to how this works, right? So say you are looking at a bond. So say you're looking at right now, this is the treasury bonds you can look at here. So you have a 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, 6 month, 1 year, Okay. So say that they're issuing a bond right now at 4.29% yield for 30 days. It's pretty good. You get 4.29% return in 30 days. That's not too bad, right? The difference here, those are treasuries. I guess, you can look at the UK ones and they're German. Never mind. Back to these ones. Say interest rates come down. Interest rates come down means that the new bonds that are being issued are going to have lower yields, are going to have lower interest rates because it's cheaper to borrow money from somebody else. When interest rates are lower, it's cheaper to borrow money, just like a mortgage is, just like any kind of personal loans or student loans or whatever else the case is. Anything with loans, car loans, any kind of loans there, when interest rates are lower, it's cheaper to borrow money. So that means they offer the yield at a lower price. So say they come out with a new 1 month treasury bond, whatever the case is, like maybe after Jerome Powell cuts rates, this one right now that you buy is fixed. It's at 4.29%. But then if you take a look back at, say, like a month or two goes by, or they're looking at rate cuts in like, I think May or June, maybe July. Say they come in and they cut rates, the new bonds being issued might be at 4%, might be at 3.7%, whatever the case is. This bond that you would have bought maybe on Monday morning, whatever the case is, this bond is worth more. So the value goes up. Okay. So going back to this picture here, as interest rates are falling, your yields of your bonds go up because the new bonds being issued are going to be lower yields compared to the ones that have already been out. The old bonds get more valuable as the new bonds come out that are cheaper. And it's the opposite for if interest rates go. Sorry, that was the opposite way. I was on the wrong side. That was the right side. On the left side, if you look at interest rates rising, prices fall because the yields rise. So you're looking at your loan, right? So you're looking at your bond. Say your bond is 4% and they issue new ones out at 6%. Yours is worth less. So why would they want to buy into yours when you can get a 6% return instead? So they drop the price to make it more valuable to the investor. So it's inverts. It's very interesting to think about, and I had no idea how it really works, but it's very, very bizarre. And take a look at so I don't know if they have an example here. Not really as much of an example here. Let's see if they have one. Maybe they kind of talk about it up here. Up here. So a bond's price always moves in the opposite direction of its yield, as previously illustrated. The key to understand this critical feature of the bond market is to recognize that a bond's price reflects the value of the income that it provides through its regular coupon interest payments, basically the interest rates you're looking at. When prevailing interest rates fall, notably rates on government bonds, older bonds of all types become more valuable because they were sold in a higher interest rate environment. So if you cut interest rates, older bonds are worth more because they offer a better return. Again, if it offers 6% and then the new ones offer 4%, people are going to want this 6% one still. They're going to be paying premium for it. They're going to be paying more value for it. So it's going to be at a higher rate. So you make more money as a result of that. Vice versa. If your bond is paying 4% and they raise interest rates and the new ones are 6%, no one's going to want your 4% interest. So they drop the price to make it somewhat more pleasing to the investor. And that's what's happening here. So interest rates go up, bond prices go down. Interest rates go down, bond prices go up. It's very interesting to think about. It's very, very speculative in this aspect, but that's kind of the idea as to how it works, right? So again, maybe you have a premium or you have a discount depending on what it is and how it's trading here. Now, as we know with bonds can be going from 1 month to 2 months to 6 months to 3 years, 5 years, 10, 20, 30s. So many different ones you look at here. Now, what the idea is and why people would even invest in this. Now, again, the pros and cons. First of all, the con is if you think about you getting 4% a year on the market in terms of this treasury bond, for example, right? Again, 4%, 4.29% or 4% or whatever it is, around 4 to 4.5%. Stock market on average returns about 8 to 9% accounting for inflation, usually like 7.5 to 8% with inflation. So you're basically missing out on 3 to 3.5% if you're not investing in money in the markets, but you're buying it into bonds and treasuries and those kind of things. But here's the difference. In a crazy market, which we are currently sitting through as we eat, sleep, and breathe right now, this is stable because this has a lot more stability. It's a lot less risk because, again, these are IOUs that are backed by the U.S. government. So in this case, if you buy into the bonds, the treasury, and everything else, you're fixing yourself to have the word I'm looking for. You're fixing yourself to have guaranteed, almost guaranteed. It's like 99% guaranteed. You're looking at giving yourself almost a very fixed income and very safe and very passive. And it allows you to sit on the sidelines and wait till the market figures out what it's doing, right? So with this idea here is that with bonds, it's safer and it's a little bit less risk. But again, you don't have as much upside. So when you have these crazy periods in the market, you'll see these bonds start to fluctuate in prices, and let me see if I can click into one, for example. Let me see. So as you take a look here, we got our interest rates going down. Oop, get out of here. So they were higher, now they're lower. Again, because, interest rates are going down because, more people are buying into these treasury bonds here right now. So, again, it's also about supply and demand. More people are buying into the bonds, which means that the yields go down because they're more sought after. The higher demand, the lower you're going to be. The lower you'll have to pay for the interest rates here because everyone wants it. Hey, I want it at 4.25. Hey, I want it at 4.2. I'll give you 4%. I'll give you 3%. It's like a bidding war basically for it. So yields come down in these kind of uncertainty markets here. And so this is kind of the idea behind it. And what they're talking about here is, again, the duration and what it is. And it's capital preservation, beautiful, income, appreciation, and it diversifies, and it's a hedge against economic slowdown or deflation. Sound familiar? Because kind of where we're at right now, it seems like. And again, there's different kind of bonds you're looking at here. You have government bonds, which are the most common ones I think people usually go into. You have corporate bonds, emerging market bonds, mortgage-backed securities you might have heard about, which is MBS. You have asset-backed securities. You have all these different kind of things to look at here. There's different strategies to do with bonds, as you know. And here's the one thing also with bonds that you hear a lot usually, but maybe you don't quite understand as much. And again, just like myself, I had to do a lot of research into how this works here. So these are the bonds we're looking at here. Now, you might have heard of the indicator of a recession being the inverted yield curve. And the most common one is the 2-year versus the 10-year. And think about how bonds work. As you are putting your money into more and more of a longer time period, you would hope that if you lock up your money for longer, you're going to hopefully hope that your money is going to get more value. Because again, 4% a year compared to 10% a year in the stock market or 8% or whatever it is, you're missing out on potential gains here. But as you lock your money up for longer and longer time periods, you should have a higher and higher yield, right? So take a look. 4%, a little bit less here, which is kind of interesting, actually. But as you get to the longer ones, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, you're getting these higher yields because you're locking money up for a lot longer as a result of these bonds here. And now here's the interesting thing to think about. The most common thing you might hear about is what's called the inverted yield curve between the 2-year and the 10-year. 2-year versus the 10-year. And basically what it is, and the idea behind it, I'm going to hopefully be able to explain it. If the 2-year yield pays more than the 10-year as a yield, that signals a possibility of an inversion. Because you're telling me that if I put my money in for 2 years and lock it up, I get a higher return compared to the 10-year. Why would you lock it up for 10 years when I get a better return for 2? So it creates this inversion, because usually what happens, if your money's locked up for longer, you should get more of a yield on it. You should get more of a percent return. So right now it's not inverted, because right now you're getting 3.95% on a 2-year versus the 10-year of 4.25%. Makes sense. The longer you hold your money, the more of a return you should be getting per year. If the 2-year pays more than the 10-year, that's usually what people start to freak out and be like, oh, it's the yield curve inversion. And if you take a look at here, this is an example of the 10-year treasury maturity minus the 2-year. Basically look at the difference between the two. And when it's negative, that means the 10-year is less than the 2-year. And take a look. 1980, negative, negative, negative. The gray is a recession. Negative, recession. Uninverted, recessionary period. Negative to positive, there's the uninversion, recession. Negative to positive, uninverted, recession. Negative to positive, same thing, uninverted, recession period. Very small one here. And take a look at where we're at right now. And this is where people start to kind of have these doubts and these kind of fears in the market. Negative yield curve, still negative, just uninverted. Now it's positive. And in looking at a lot of the other ones, this one this is 1990, recession came afterwards. You have one at 2000, dot-com bubble, recession, housing market crisis, 2008, COVID pandemic, 2020. All of these, once it uninverted, short time after, we hit a recession. And right now, the markets are pretty fearful in general. Jerome Powell has no idea what's going on. If you saw my post in After Hours, he has no idea what's going on right now. There's so much uncertainty. He used the word uncertainty at least 18 times in his speech with the FOMC last week. We have a bear in the Fed for longer term. We're starting to have more unpredictability with tariffs and everything else here, and inflation staying around, and stagflation being rumored, and unemployment going higher, and inflation staying higher, and economic slowdown. And look where the 2-year versus 10-year is right now. Now, is this guaranteed? Absolutely not. This is not guaranteed at all. We don't know. Usually the recessionary time period is when you have 2 negative GDP quarters in a row. And again, maybe if we don't have that, that's one of the major indications for it and everything else. But the thing to understand is, again, as we're looking at here, is bond markets have a huge role here. And there's a lot of money in those bonds, because as you get closer to retiring, people are putting more money in those safe and passive investments to get passive income to use for retirement. There's a lot of money there. And so bonds and rates tell a story. 2-year, if you see the 2-year and the 10-year start to close, might start getting a little bit more fearful there. I don't really know. I'm not really quite sure. But again, I don't know. It's another data point to consider. Am I saying this is going to be a recession? No, absolutely not. Is this going to be guaranteed? Absolutely not. Look at the last periods. It has hit the last 4 from what I can see here. This is the max to go to, actually, it looks like, from when I started tracking it. But it looks like it's hit that over and over again. So very interesting bonds and how the yields work and where the money goes and everything else. So thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you made it this far and you learned something new about bonds, feel free to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell notifications for all future uploads as per usual. Again, I'm in no means a market expert. I'm not a market maker. I don't work on Wall Street. I just like to give you some of my perspectives with things. And what's probably going to happen is a year down the road on this YouTube channel, if you're still here subscribed, I'll probably have another update on bonds with more education and more knowledge here. So this is kind of the baseline for me with bonds right now. Again, as we get older and older, I'm going to learn more and more. So thank you guys so much for watching today's video and supporting the channel as per usual. I hope you guys are making money in the market, in bonds, or in stocks, whatever you prefer. And as always, I will be seeing you guys in the next video.